Hello, everybody, and welcome back to First String Daily Live, where it's Friday. And Paul, do you know what we're doing in June? Because you didn't even know I was going to do this.
Jeez. Uh, no, what are we doing in June?
We are going to go to Washington, D.C. for Shift Happens conference. So you can actually find out more at shifthappenscon.com. It's a digital transformation conference. I will be there. Paul will be there. Mary Jo will be there. Dux, if you're familiar with him, he does a podcast with me over on the Petru side. He will be there. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be podcasting. There's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I'm going to stay for a couple of extra days. I love DC.
DC's. I'm quite literally bringing my entire family.
Yeah. I'm going to bring my wife, but
I guess technically the dog's not coming. The dog. We don't actually know what's going to happen with the dog. This is a fun one because I'm going on vacation the week before, and my in-laws are coming for some reason. And
gosh, that is not a vacation. You need to look up the definition of that term, by the way.
There will be a bottle of scotch with me approximately the entire time we are on the beach. But I don't know what we're going to do with the dog yet because the people who usually watch our dog burnt their house down. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we put our dog in a kennel thing for 3 weeks.
Obviously an option, but
which is a long time. We were kind of hoping we'd come back, and she just, may have passed on. But
wow.
Anyway,
wow.
I kid. I love that animal. Sort of.
Yeah, I love it.
Every time I get off the couch, I have the same conversation with the dog because the dog's laying there. She looks up. She looks up at me. What she's making sure is that I'm not going to step on her when I get off the couch. And every time I say, Daisy, I'm not going to step on you. I would never step on you. And we have this happens. This has probably happened 1,000 times already.
Yeah, well, it's very clear that my dog loves my wife more than me, despite the fact that I am home all day with the dog. I get the dog food, I get the dog water, I take him out multiple times per day. But when my wife comes through that door, it's like, who are you? It's that I'm just nothing.
My dog ignores me when I'm the only one home. Well, you never see the dog.
I try to ignore you.
Right. I mean, you can understand you're right. But when my wife and my daughter come home, it is a 3-alarm fire of excitement. And suddenly the dog's about. You never see her, but it's okay. I prefer it that way.
Yeah. Speaking of jokes that aren't involving your dog dying, apparently Microsoft has sent out an email that says, hey, we're not going to do any jokes, so please don't.
I support this.
I do too, because if you're not familiar, April 1st starts next week, which means, well, you shouldn't really believe anything you read on the internet anyways, but especially on that day, if it's too good to be true. It is.
Yeah. Look, we screw around as much as anybody, maybe more than most people.
I would say more.
Okay, fair enough. I was just trying to level set it, but obviously we have a sense of humor, right? Yes. The two of us, and we'd like to have fun, and we go out and we do stuff and whatever. But yeah, this April Fool's stuff is just stupidity. And, Google's famous for this. I'm like, guys, seriously, you're not that quirky. You're not that fun. It's ridiculous. And so Chris Capicella sent out a menu. Yeah. And I ordered the fries and the steak. No, he has sent out a memo. And, I 100% support this.
Yeah. Yeah, This is whatever. These are where my microphones are, but
right.
I've gotten pretty good at picking the seat where to sit on the plane, because I go to New York what feels like every other week, and you can see Central Park back here, and it's a little blue and hazy, but
no, it's nice. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, this was actually, as much as I love flying, this was the most uneventful flight I think I've ever been on in my entire. If every flight went like that, I would just live on a plane.
When you enter New York on the back streets of New Jersey on a bus, it's not quite as picturesque. Not quite as picturesque. Yeah.
Can't imagine why. And then, Paul, while it is April Fool's, I think there's a magic window on both sides, one of the April Fool's stuff, but correct me if I'm wrong, if you are an insider builds, now's the time to start thinking about if you want to jettison that plane.
There's a little asterisk to this, and I probably should update this article. That build went to the presumed release candidate, we'll call it, went to the slow ring, and I said, okay, this is it. And Yeah, I wrote the article I always write when the magic window appears. If you're in the insider program, you're on 19H1 in this case. Development has ceased. You can get out of the insider program without any repercussions. If you were to do this, say 2 or 3 months ago, that thing would be locked on that build. You wouldn't get any more updates until this thing became the public version of Windows 10.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're in this little window, by getting out of the insider program, your PC will just start picking up the normal updates, and you're right on schedule again. So it's a good time to do it. You can get out without any, like I said, any repercussions. The thing is, it's like Microsoft, right? See, we should have seen this one coming.
Yeah.
They put it out in the slow ring, and they found some people were having installation issues all of a sudden. It's funny, like you test software with a certain size group, and everything's fine, and then you ship it to a bigger group, and all of a sudden there's a couple of problems. So they're going to fix this somehow. Now, here's the thing. They may have to increment the build because it's an installation issue and it's not something that can be fixed by a cumulative update or quality update, whatever you want to call it. In which case, this isn't it's release candidate 1 and there's going to be a second one. So here's the thing. This is the good news. The good news is it is way easier to enroll and unenroll your PC in the insider program than it used to be. Mm-hmm. So it is possible if you've done this, like I've done it on, not all of them, but on most of the machines I was on, 19H1. Tomorrow or today, I guess not tomorrow, but today or next week, they could be like, okay, here's the next build. And then that will be the final build, almost certainly. If that happens, you will have to sign into the insider, go back to fast, Windows Update, and then unenroll. You'll be fine. It's not a big deal, but this is what I get. Either do it too soon or too late. There's no way to stick the landing because they don't tell you. That's the problem.
Is the joke on you this time around, Mr. Thurrott?
The joke is always on me, no matter what happens. That's So I should probably put a little update link on there. Yep. I'll do that after the show.
The other question is, how's Edge work? The new Edge, not that crap they shipped.
Yeah, the piece of shit that was in it for 5 years. Yeah. No, it's it's good. It's good. Somebody gave me a newer build of it, which I've not installed yet. I went out to the gym and whatever, and so anyway, I just got it. But I honestly, it's fine. I have found a couple of little things that don't work for some reason, right? And it's a little screwy. It's not clear what the problem would be. I guess that's to be expected. In fact, the funny thing is, it's weirder that this didn't happen right up front, because you go through a series of things when you start using a new browser on a new PC. You start filling things out. You start going to your sites you go to. You start making sure all your passwords are coming through and everything. And normally, if there's going to be a problem, like, when I would test Microsoft Edge, the old version, with every new version of Windows 10, the first experience is usually pretty good. But on the first day, you'll usually hit something where you're like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't do it, And that didn't really happen in this case. So these are little things. They're nothing to worry about. I use a thing called V Mix Call with Andrew when I do What the Tech. I couldn't get that to work. Could be me. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
You never know. And then I don't know if you saw on Twitter today. I wanted to see the screenshots for an Xbox game on the Microsoft Store on the web. Right. So they released a remastered version of Assassin's Creed 3. That sounded weird as I said it. Assassin's Creed 3, well, whatever it's called. I wanted to see the shots to see what it looked like because I like the older Assassin's Creed games, and
sure,
you have to fill out your. I guess it's like a mature game of some kind, so you have to fill in your date of birth, and once you complete the date of birth fill in, you for 1 second you can see the thumbnails, then the page refreshes and it goes back to the thing where you have to enter your date of birth. And at first I thought it was because how it is when you enter your date of birth, like. You leave the month and the year alone, the day alone, but you scroll through the year until you find one that's at least 21 years ago.
Yep.
And then you just nail it. And so maybe it had some logic where it's like, if this is January 1,
A lot of people born then.
So I actually went through it and one time I'm like, I'm going to put my date of birth in there. Yeah, it still didn't work.
Yeah. The kind of interesting thing to think is, so they announced this in, December, roughly? Right around that.
That they were going to, maybe November. Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah.
And how feature complete it is already.
Well,
granted, that's on the backs of somebody else, but.
Yeah, so it's funny. They've inserted some Microsoft stuff in there. the spacing and iconography, or whatever the word, iconography of the menus is very Edge-like, Microsoft style, which is good. If you're an Edge fan and an Edge user today, there are things missing from that browser, right? So the tab management features aren't there. The reading mode is not there. The ebook store stuff is not there. Yeah. So I don't know what the plan is for that. It's completely reasonable for a first pre-release version not to have stuff like that. Completely. I mean, the existing Edge is in market. It's going to stay there. You can use it for that stuff. There is some humor. I have not actually seen this myself because I've never, had the old version of Edge as my default browser, but I've been told multiple times that if you switch your default browser from Edge to Edge, it actually gives you a warning to please stay with Edge.
Yeah.
Which is obviously funny for all the right reasons. But yeah, it's fine. It's past a bar. I will say, for example, I test browsers all the time. New version of Firefox comes out. I always take a look at it. New version of Opera, Brave, whatever. When you think about Chromium-based web browsers, it's the type of thing that should be fine, but there's always something, where you're like, I don't know. And I haven't run into that with this.
Nope.
And that is pretty impressive. I mean, I try to keep this a secret, Brad, but I can be pretty critical. And
I never.
No, I know. No, people don't think that when they think me, but, I don't have a problem with this. It works well. That's good.
Yeah, maybe they should just scrap all of Windows and go Linux route, and then.
Is this thing? Oh, they never said Linux, right? But they are going to put it on the Mac, didn't they?
Pretty
say
sure,
that?
yeah. I mean, it's coming to everything,
yeah.
so I would imagine it would come to Linux. I would think.
I cracked open the MacBook Air last night because I was worried about the keyboard. So far so good. And it was kind of interesting because I used Chrome, of course, on the Mac as well, or as I did on Windows. And when Chrome kind of came up, I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, can I get Edge on this thing? Like, no, I can't, not yet.
Well, I think here we can answer this question: is Chrome on Linux?
No.
Isn't it? I thought it was.
No, you have to get Chromium on Linux.
Oh, it's Chromium. Well,
yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, different color icon.
Yeah.
No, but there's no reason they couldn't do it. Linux is a bit of a mess because there's no such thing as on Linux, right? There's different versions of Linux. Like you have to make different package types and. No, I mean just from I didn't mean Linux is a mess. I mean like from the perspective of a company like Microsoft that you're not releasing a version of Edge for Linux. Unfortunately, you'd probably have to maintain, I don't know, 2 or 3. I don't even know if it's code bases. It might just be literally the packaging systems they use. I feel like I'm using the wrong term here. Packages. I think they're called packages, like app packages. Doesn't matter. We don't cover Linux. Who cares?
tar files, all that good stuff.
Tar files, yes. GZs.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep. You know what, the one thing I wish they would do, and they could very easily do this, and this would make, I think, a lot of people feel maybe warm and fuzzy inside, is so clearly there's a sync mechanism, right, to go between all that, and Microsoft is using something to sync all that, right? It's probably, it's their infrastructure, obviously, we know that, but you know what I would love? Is every time, so when you sign up for a Microsoft account, you automatically get OneDrive. That just is one of those things. What would be nice is if there would be a folder that popped up and just said, whatever, Edge Sync. And that way you could control your data.
Oh, Brad, you are so naive.
It'd be nice.
So back in the day, maybe you're thinking of this and you don't realize it, but you used to sync your IE favorites that way, remember?
Yep.
There was it might even still be there. Oh my God, let me look at it before I say this. If you go into your user profile in Windows, and there is a folder called favorites. Yeah, of course it's still there, and it's full of stuff. Look at that. Actually, is that the way Edge does it now? See, I don't use Edge. It might be. It might be.
I don't know.
It's full of stuff. Yeah, maybe that is how they do it. So that's how they do it for they call it favorites. Yes,
bookmarks or whatever.
Edge. Yeah, bookmarks everywhere else on the planet Earth, but Microsoft uses favorites. Sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I wrote up my 3,200 words of...
Yeah. I didn't look at... See, I saw that. Sorry, I was so busy today.
Go. Just scroll to the bottom and we can fight about it.
I want to see your letter grades. I assume you gave letter grades.
I did.
think we felt like we
But
talked
people
about that a
tied
little.
because it's kind of.
What's that? There's a tie?
Well, I mean, it's not like tie, but I mean, if you look at things like cloud infrastructure, for example, I would say that Amazon and Microsoft both have class-leading infrastructure, right? They're basically the same in terms of functionality and availability. One is not implicitly better than the other. They're both going to be great experiences. That is one example of.
Sorry, this is taking so long. I had to actually sign in on my own website, and it took a little while because of music. All right. So this is, I like the way this is laid out, by the way. It's good.
A lot of words there.
I was going to say, look at you. Jeez. All right. Scorecard. Amazon. Amazon, Microsoft both get an A on cloud technology. I agree with that. Sony. Yeah, I think this is just about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fan base A, and yep, I agree with those. Microsoft B, yeah, Google. Is D the lowest grade? Because that would be
D is the lowest grade. I didn't feel like anybody deserved an F.
Yep, no, I agree with that. IP, and this is meaning like first party titles and unique to the platform type titles. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, say that again. Sorry.
IP is
games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nintendo and Sony obviously get an A. Apple gets a C. Google gets a D, and Amazon gets a C, and Microsoft gets a B. I think people might argue with you on the B. I agree with that personally. I think that's where they are. So I bet a lot of people who complain about the Xbox would give that one a C or even a D. But I think I agree with that. Services, and these are gaming specific services that exist today. Yeah. So yeah, Microsoft and Sony A, absolutely. I wouldn't give Nintendo a D, but I see why you went in that direction. Don't they have they have an online service, don't they?
Do.
It's backwards compatible stuff and.
Yeah, sort of. It's not
okay.
It's not great.
Okay, and then Apple obviously has a Game Center thing, but nobody uses it, and it's terrible.
That's exactly what I wrote in there. Is that Apple has an online Game Center platform, but most people just turn it off.
Yeah, you may be surprised to discover that Apple has it. Yeah, okay. Amazon B. Yep, I agree with that. And hardware, yes. Amazon D. Google. Now, how does Google even get C? Is it because of phones?
They're going to have the controller, so they at least have something.
Okay. All right. Microsoft and hardware. Microsoft and Sony both get an A. Apple gets a B. Now, what's the B on Apple?
There's an interesting thought around Apple currently because Apple has intense loyalty, right? People literally line up to buy their phones and all that stuff. What we don't know is whether or not that's going to translate into people being intensely loyal to their services. So it's
right. Okay.
And you don't really see that on the Android side. People don't necessarily line up for phones. They're not loyal to Android. They just buy that phone because it's basically a non-iPhone or whatever. And they want Android.
In some ways, being loyal to Android doesn't really mean much, but they are in a way loyal to Android. That what they're probably not loyal to is the brand. A lot of times, like they would go from Samsung to LG or something. All right, and then Nintendo gets a B, and I assume that's because this kind of low-end hardware.
Yeah, it's just because they just have that one device. It doesn't do well it does as a home console. Just comparing it to say what Sony and Microsoft offer, I just don't feel like it's on the same level. But it's still good. It's just not best in class.
Well, this is difficult for me, Brad, but I think I agree with most of this.
And then the next sentence right after the scorecard is, "This is not the Bible of."
Right.
I'm sure.
Well, it's a rating, right? Anytime you write a review, which is essentially as you're reviewing where they're at. I mean, it's your opinion. It's subjective. I think it's fair and defensible.
Yeah.
And
the whole idea is that you can look at that and be like, okay, here's where each company is weak, and where they can be exploited, and this is where they're doing well, and this is how they can capitalize. It's kind of how it breaks down.
Yep. Now that you've done this, though, sorry, but you're going to have to do it again.
Because, I thought about that, but the question is when. I guess probably you can't do it every quarter because it doesn't change that enough. At least maybe once a year is at least doable. Maybe twice.
So it's March now. I mean, by the end of the year, we should. I mean, I don't know what the exact schedule is, but it is possible. We'll have new Xbox consoles, which we do expect. We'll have possibly new Switch consoles, right? There are rumors about 2 different new versions coming of that. And Sony sometime this year will announce a PlayStation 5 and presumably their whatever service of the future. So I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, once we have a better understanding of where everybody's at, then and Apple's service will launch sometime this fall, presumably as well, based on their publicly stated timelines.
Yeah, what I want to see from Apple is, I know they have hand controllers, right? If you go to the Apple Store online and go to, peripherals or whatever, you can find a couple of hand controllers made by third parties that are compatible, I think, with iPhone and iPad, possibly with Apple TV too. I should add that. And I think we talked about this probably yesterday. This notion that Apple Arcade could introduce some notion of cross-platform compatibility between iOS, Mac, and Apple TV. Yes, because I referred to it as a universal app. And we'll see what they announce in June. But what I would really like to see from everybody involved in this space is the controller. It's Sony and Google, had to, I think, have a controller story of some kind. When they first announced that it was going to be compatible with existing controllers, Xbox, PlayStation, I was like, great, that's all anyone ever wants. Of course, they went in a different direction. They have their own controller. So actually, they're kind of stepping it up there. That's smart. If you're serious about gaming, you have to have a controller. Obviously, and I'd like to see Apple kind of formalize that a little bit more. I'm surprised there isn't more going on there.
Yeah. Well, they got plenty of time to announce something.
Yeah, they do. Well, they have 2 months. So, well, they're gonna have to reveal it. They're gonna have to, right? Like, if Apple Arcade is contingent upon a developer creating a project in Xcode that has 3 different targets, right? 3 different platforms, and that the story there is you can do a bunch of sharing, code sharing, you haven't really advanced the state of the art that much. That's possible. I'm sure that's basically possible today. Like, it needs to be a little more, seamless than that. And anyway, we'll see. Like you said, we have to wait and see. We don't know right now.
Yeah. You got anything else going on this weekend, Mr. Thurrott?
I will provide you an update on my daughter's car, which was totaled.
Oh, really? It was totaled.
But here's how totaled works. See, everyone has a problem with this math because the cost of the parts to replace the parts that were broken exceeds the total value of her car. Because you can't take her car apart and sell the parts as if they're new. They're 12 years old. Some of them probably don't work properly anymore. So what we can do is get slightly less money from the insurance company. We go to the place we love in town that does all our stuff. They can fix it for significantly less. There's no structural damage to the vehicle. So we're just basically replacing the front bumper, literally the internal bumper, the actual bumper, plus the cover, the quarter panel, I guess we'll call it. I think it's a quarter panel in the front as well. The light assembly, obviously, and the lights. And it's, but the thing is, it goes on, the negotiation we have right now with the insurance company is if we do that, it gets a special code in the system, which means that it was totaled, which dramatically reduces the value of the car. So if we ever wanted to sell it, let's say if it was worth $5,000 normally, it would only be worth like $1,000. So what she's saying is, you can give us even less money. There's a thing you can do in the state where the state inspector comes down and ensures the work was done properly, and the car does not have to be tagged as having been totaled because it's perfectly fine. So we're going to try to do that. Not because we think my daughter will want to ever sell the car or whatever, but it's just in case. You never know. You know what I mean? There's nothing, there should be nothing wrong with it. All she did was hit the corner. She from a stop went forward and hit another car. She wasn't driving even 10 miles an hour, Yeah,
it didn't look bad at all.
Well, actually, in person it looks pretty bad, but but you can, because you can see inside, you can tell. I know the structure of this vehicle is fine. Plus the speeds involved. My God, it's just because she did it right on the corner. So the thing just crumpled up. And it's, it's like the hood, the quarter panel, the bumper cover, the assembly of the light. You got to make sure with the hood everything lines up. Obviously, it was kind of a bad spot to have hit, but. Yeah, so we're dealing with that.
What you
so
need
look
to do,
forward to your daughter being a teenager.
What you need to do is, after you get it all fixed, go out there and look at it like you're inspecting it real good, and then give your daughter a helmet and be like, insurance mandates that you wear this when you drive. Since it's
my daughter's our insurance apparently came with a rental car, so we've been driving around a rental car. Of course, she can't drive it because she's too young, so the car is insured. I mean, it's our insurance. So my daughter's driving my wife's car every day now. So she has a nicer car now. No matter what happens to her, everything comes up Kelly. It's You know, like she wrecked a car. Here's a BMW. Have fun with that. It's just, it's unbelievable. You know.
So in the comments, Tim says, in PA, we have R titles for cars that were totaled. Cars with an R title sell for dramatically less. With an R title, you just don't know how bad it was, how well they put it back together.
That's right. And so what you can, he's right. That's exactly what it's called. And apparently what you can do, though, is have a state inspector come down, and they will inspect the work being done at the shop to ensure that they do know exactly how well it was done, and it was done properly. They know there's no structural damage. And you could potentially not have to have an R title, which would bring the car back up to its normal value at that time in its life or whatever. So there seems to be some debate about whether we can do this. But the thing is, like, the guy can fix it for a lot less than they're going to, for the amount of money they're going to give us. So we would take less money. Mm-hmm. We just want to get the car. We're not trying to come up with, I didn't send my daughter careening into another vehicle so I could make a couple $1,000s. I'm trying, although don't put it past me. I mean, seriously, I would if I had to, you know what I mean? But
yeah. You got 2 kids. You can sacrifice one.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Brad? What's going on in your life?
I'm not planning any insurance fraud. Let me just get that out there. I don't know. It's actually supposed to, I think, rain all weekend. So
right.
Got a whole bunch of nothing.
Sorry. All right.
Whole bunch of nothing. So, all right, folks. Well, on that note, that wraps it up for today. We should be back here all next week, provided nothing happens. None of us, at least, Paul, you're not traveling, are you? Next week?
No.
Good.
Nope.
Then we will be back all week. So have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Don't get bamboozled by anything, and we'll catch you on Monday.